Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Canberra Football Show, episode 87. Michael here joining me as always. Before I throw it over to Michael, we would both like to wish some good friends of the show best of luck as they begin their FIFA Women's World Cup coverage this week. Firstly, Russ Gibbs, who will be commentating on quite a few matches in the tournament for the audio descriptive channels on the FIFA Plus app. Try to check some of those out when you can. I believe he's doing the Sydney, a lot of the Sydney matches mostly. And secondly, Stefan Mubis, who has joined us to cover NPLW before, will be covering the tournament for Beyond 90, I believe. So go check his write-ups on the website that are available there. I believe he's going all over a decent amount of Australia and New Zealand as well for, I believe, the semi-final. So good luck to both of them, and look forward to reading and hearing their work. Michael, how's it going today?
Yeah, good, thanks. I sort of just want to echo those, kind words, Matt, to Russ and Stefan. Obviously, good to have two members of the Canberra sort of football community in one way or another being involved in such a major tournament like the Women's FIFA World Cup that's due to kick off very, very soon. So, congratulations to both of them. It's good to see both of them getting that sort of experience and exposure at that sort of level in terms of international football competition. So, well done to both of them for being able to, you know, obviously cover the competition and, like you said, be sure to check the write-ups by Stefan on Beyond 90, and Russ will obviously be providing audio commentary on some of the matches throughout the tournament. But Matt, nevertheless, we'll kick things off with NPL football action, and we start with Canberra Olympic getting back to winning ways. A big win for them, 2-0 against Canberra, Croatia. In O'Connor, it was Neo and Makua on the score sheet for the hosts. It's a crucial win, like I said, Matt, for Olympic in this encounter, especially after their recent struggles for form. It was a tight affair for most of the first period, but Adam New broke the deadlock 3 minutes before halftime with an excellent finish with his left foot across the goal, past the goalkeeper to make it 1-0. And then into the second half, Matt, they got their decisive second in the 75th minute thanks to a beautiful chip from McCord to capitalise on a defensive mistake by Canberra, Croatia. And that's what cemented their victory in this one to make it 2-0. And like I said, it was just a huge 3 points for Olympic as they sit third on 26 points, while Canberra, Croatia remain sixth on 19 points, 5 points off the top four. So I think the sort of big talking point coming out of this was, Olympic sort of getting over that hump of their recent struggles, and no better way for them to do that by defeating a team like Canberra, Croatia, which is definitely going to give them a lot of confidence moving forward for the rest of the season as we, see finals football on the horizon.
Oh, certainly. And one thing I wanted to note as well that's worth mentioning for that Olympic and Croatia one is that there was a double yellow, a send-off, a double yellow card for Canberra, Croatia. I believe it was Matt Gerbischer got that accumulation of yellow cards, so he'll miss the match next week. And that, we've seen a few comebacks from teams that have been down a man and have gone on to win. Canberra, Croatia wasn't meant for them, so that's sixth place for them. Leaves them with a bit of a battle in that final round of the season.
Matt, who have we got next up? This outfit in particular that won this game are just continuing to put on statement after statement in NPL football.
Tigers and O'Connor match. O'Connor coming out victors 4-1 in this one. Both teams were tied top of the table, of course, going into it, and O'Connor prevailed and goes sole top. In terms of the match, O'Connor opened the scoring in the 8th minute as they intercepted the ball in the middle of the park, pressed forward and laid it off for Manda, who had some terrific footwork on the edge of the box before attempting a shot which was saved, and Kresic picked up the rebound for the goal. On the 20th minute mark, O'Connor doubled their advantage as Connor Bill struck a nice ball over the wing for Harrison Palic, who beat Milburn for pace, ran down the line, cut inside. Ihegi backheeled it for Palic, who continued running across goal and placed it past the keeper. Well worked goal here. Great work from Palic with the run. And well done to him on as well, because he is having a great season, as are the rest of the O'Connor defense. Such a great tandem, and do their bit going forward as well. Before the 30-minute mark, Tigers made a tactical change. They moved Junna to fullback as they just weren't coping with the Knights' pressure down those wings. Tigers regained a bit of momentum and built some chances before the half time, but the first half was certainly went O'Connor's way. O'Connor made it 3-0 on the 67th minute mark as a Tigers free kick was whipped into the box, and ultimately Palic whacked a massive defensive clearance out of the box past the halfway line, which Michael Adams ran down. Senior pressured him, and Senior sort of fumbled the back pass to the keeper, and Adams pounced on it, nipped it around Cole, and placed it in the back of the net. Such a great goal. Well-worked run here. And again, just a great determination from the Knights just to run down every last opportunity. Tigers responded well, though, to this and scored one of their own 2 minutes later. A great piece of team play from the Tigers, linking up all around the midfield before Angelo Santi laid a ball off for Milanovic, and he struck a great ball for the far post, 3-1. Another really nice goal here. Despite the Tigers trying to push for another, it was O'Connor that struck next to end off the game at 4-1. Niko Kresic went on a blitzer of a run down that right wing, beating Milanovic for pace, cutting across inside the box and releasing a shot for the far post to complete his brace. Absolutely outstanding run here. Great show of pace and skill from Kresic. And that was, of course, his brace for the afternoon. This loss for Tigers means that they dropped to second place on the ladder with 3 points behind O'Connor on 29 points, and they're 3 points ahead of Olympic, who are in third place, like you mentioned before, Michael. And Tigers have the Battle of the Big Cats coming up next. O'Connor complete their second third of the season in perfect fashion as they went 7 matches unbeaten. Not just that, they won 7 matches on the trot, cementing themselves as sole leaders at the top of the NPL standings with this win. O'Connor lead Tigers by 3 points and Olympic by 6 points, as we mentioned before. And it has to be said, it's deservedly so that they're top of the table. They've been absolutely outstanding, especially in the second third of the season. And Russ sort of had a good line there where he's like, on the commentary, he's like, if you didn't consider O'Connor title challenges, well, you sort of better believe it now. And safe to say, they have to be considered favourites as we head into this last third of the season, not just by the standings, but by the way they're playing going forward defensively, running down every single last opportunity. The way they approach every single game has been top notch. And the 7 wins on the trot and the placing on the ladder shows that they'll be hoping to continue that fine form as they head for that final stretch. But right now, Michael, they are looking in very, very good form as they head into that final third of the season and the Croatian derby next week. Michael, what was one of our matches on the Sunday offering?
Yeah, we had Tuggeranong United against the Monaro Panthers, a 0-0 draw, a sort of rare 0-0 stalemate draw in NPL football, that's for sure. But, it didn't do a whole lot for Monaro, this result, but it did a lot more for Tuggeranong, who are near the bottom of the table, which I'll get into a little bit later. But, clear-cut chances were few and far between in this contest. Monaro had more attempts on goal than Tuggies in this one. The most memorable chance, though, probably came for Tuggies, in which Jordan Thurtell stepped up with a big save to deny the home side from taking the lead in this match. So, like I mentioned, earlier, it now means that the point means that Tuggeranong are now on 5 points, which means they're 5 points ahead of West Canberra, who stay rooted to the bottom of the table. And Matt, what's crucial about them picking up that point is both Tuggeranong United and West Canberra Wanderers will meet this week in midweek action. So that's got a match that has everything to play for in terms of implications for the relegation battle for this season. So, I mean, there'll be plenty of eyes on that one. And I mean, if West Canberra can manage to get a victory in that contest, well, then it really opens things up again. And we'll see if they'll be able to make another great escape from the relegation zone this time around. But it's going to be a fantastic game, that one midweek, as I'm sure we'll get into later when we break down some of the fixtures. But for Monaro, Matt, they missed the chance to go into the top 4 with this draw, so that they still remain in 5th place, behind 4th placed Gungahlin. So I now believe that Monaro is 2 points off. So it was a big opportunity missed for them to get themselves in the top 4, but it just wasn't meant to be in this one. They built a little bit of momentum as well, got some really, really good results in recent weeks, but they weren't able to capitalize on that. So they'll be no doubt a little bit more disappointed with the draw than what Tuggeranong will. Like we said, for Tuggeranong, it gives them an added point when you compare them to West Canberra Wanderers, who are the only team below them in the table. And we know that Tuggeranong don't want to go back to CPL next season straight away up, having only just gotten promoted last year. So, although it may have not have been the most entertaining game, there was a lot to dissect in terms of the result and what it meant for both teams moving forward. Matt, what's our last match for NPL action this week? A good win for the home team on this occasion.
It certainly was. It was a win that solidifies them in the top 4 for this round, breaking away from Monaro. And that was Gungahlin United 2-0 win over West Canberra. Early on in this one, Wanderers had a cracking chance as they hit the crossbar after a great strike from outside the box. It was the home side, though, that would open the scoring 18 minutes in as Habtemarian beat his marker to the ball and Bernabeu Madrid picked it up and placed it past the keeper. The Wanderers' ability to make a comeback was made harder as Harry Truman was sent off for a second yellow card in this match, meaning he will miss that midweek catch-up match with Tuggeranong that you mentioned before, Michael. Deep into stoppage time, Sam Vizzy broke down the line and did a 1-2 with Jack Green, bolted further down the wing, tried to lay off a shot, but grabbed the rebound off the defender, which he squared for Anthony Timotheu, who proceeded to unleash a shot to the right post to make it 2-0. Just minutes before Gungahlin thought they had scored. I believe it was Romeo that had a chance there. However, it was called due to offside. So Gunners with a bit of action late on in this one. What this means for the table is, of course, like you mentioned before, Michael, Wanderers are still without a single point this season. And for them, it's all eyes on that midweek catch-up v Tuggies. Just looking at the table and the amount of matches left, you would think that Wanderers need a victory against Tuggies in that matchup, and then they both still yet to play each other in the final third of the season. We'll have to wait and see how that one goes, because if they don't win that one, it will be a very tough climb to make up 8 points in 7 games, and they'll also need to expect Tuggies not to grab any more points as well. So huge match for them, for Wanderers on Wednesday, as well as it is for Tuggeranong. Also, in terms of Gunners, though, a good win, as I mentioned at the top of this review, that they were able to break away from Monaro by 2 points in the top 4 in 4th place. And they're only 2 points off 3rd place Olympic as well. And I guess what was important here for Gunners as well is that they were able to see off the victory after having the lead and then having the numerical advantage, which they weren't able to do against Monaro last week. So a lot of positives there for Gungahlin. heading into round 15 and the final third of the season. Michael, we have quite a few big matches. We've mentioned one of them as the midweek catch-up. So what is the midweek catch-up? And then after that, our round 15 fixtures for NPL.
Yeah, so the catch-up that we've already discussed a few times now, already on the podcast this episode, Matt, is that round 12 matchup between Tuggeranong United and West Canberra Wanderers to take place Wednesday night, July 19th, 7:30 p.m. at Canberra 201. So if you're not doing anything on Wednesday night and you love NPL action and Canberra football, be sure to get out there and watch that one, because that's a match that's got a lot of implications, like we said, for the relegation battle. We then move on to round 15 fixtures, which include West Canberra Wanderers against Canberra Olympic, Saturday, July 22nd, 2 p.m. at Melrose Synthetic. We then have O'Connor Knights up against Canberra, Croatia, Saturday, July 22nd, 3 p.m. at O'Connor Enclosed. Monaro Panthers play hosts to Tigers FC, Saturday, July 22nd, 5:45 p.m. at Riverside. And lastly, we have Tuggeranong United playing Gungahlin United Sunday, July 23rd, 3 p.m. at Canberra 201. So some very, very entertaining fixtures on the horizon for NPL football. And that catch-up game, Matt, is going to be an absolute delight. I can assure you of that. But nevertheless, let's move on to NPLW action now, Matt. And a close game between these two sides, but it was the home team that nudged it in the end and got the win.
Yeah, big matchup at O'Connor Enclosed. Jeremy and I were commentating on this one. 1-0 victory for Canberra Olympic over Gungahlin United. Olympic opened the scoring in the 29th minute as a looping corner from Leah Carnegie was put in the box, and then proceeded the long scram. And then what proceeded was probably the longest scramble in the box, as Jeremy coined it on commentary. A lot of back and forth from both sides before Nicole Jaloka won that battle and placed it in the back of the net. This is Jaloka's 7th goal of the NPLW campaign. Olympic had the better of the first half, not just with the goal, but they were more dangerous of both sides going forward. And there was one particular shot which forced an incredible save from Gungahllin's Emily Kelly. You can see the shots from Sal on Soccer Snaps by Sal. He captured the moment pretty well there, as he always does. Gungahlin had some great chances in the second half, including one from Michelle Heyman, which she got on the end of. The through ball, had a shot which was saved by King, and as well as one right near the death where a great ball was put in the box, which found Ella Brown, and her shot hit the inside of the post and ricocheted out. So Gungahlin very close to ending the match with a draw, but were denied by the post. Despite the close chances from Gungahlin for the majority of the half, they found it difficult to find Heyman or Oliver in numerous positions further down in dangerous positions in the box. And part of that was just due to how well Olympic did defensively in this matchup. In particular, I thought Elkray Tolu was absolutely immense in this one, with some great challenges and moments. Also worth noting, Michelle Wienerker came off with an injury to her ankle. She limped off to the dressing room at the end of the match with ice wrapped around the ankle. So hopefully it's not super serious there, and swift recovery for her. Gungahlin are still, after this match, Gungahlin are still in 4th place after this loss, with 5 points off Belconnen, who are in 3rd. Gunners still have a match in hand, but Belco have 2 matches in hand. Big win for Olympic, though, as they keep pace with Croatia, who lead them by 3 points at the top of NPLW. However, Olympic do have a match in hand, and both teams play each other this weekend in the NPLW Canberra Classico, as Russ coins it, at Deakin Stadium. More on that later. And talking about Deakin Stadium, Michael, there was a match that emanated from there this weekend. Who did Canberra Croatia face?
They faced West Canberra Wanderers, Matt, and it was a 3-0 win for Canberra Croatia in this one. A win and a clean sheet for them in this match. So a very good result for them, and it's always better when you manage to keep a clean sheet as well, isn't it? So it was a great corner, swung in towards Perry, who finished brilliantly to make it 1-0 for the hosts. West Canberra almost got themselves level, Matt, a few minutes later, but a fantastic save onto the crossbar from a free kick kept the score at 1-1. At 1-0. The hosts almost scored their second at the very end of the first half, but were denied by a fingertip save onto the crossbar. So the score was kept at 1-0, but the crossbar had already been struck on a few occasions in the first half, Matt. So a very entertaining clash by all accounts. And that sort of stretched over into the second period, especially for the first part of the second half. The crossbar was struck again for the third time in the match, as Canberra Croatia had an effort 5 minutes into the second half, but that obviously meant that the score was still 1-0. But since the first goal had gone in, the crossbar had been struck 3 times, so you could sort of get a sense that it was either just not going to be either side's day in terms of getting it beyond the 1-0 scoreline, or it was going to open, the floodgates were going to open eventually. And that's what happened, with Canberra Croatia breaking away to score their second through Palombi after a neat finish 1-on-1 with the keeper. And that was in the 78th minute, Matt. And then Palombi scored her second and Canberra Croatia's third in injury time to make it 3-0. She did well. She managed to sort of cut inside and then strike the ball at the near post, which went past the keeper, who probably should have saved the effort on reflection. And the keeper will be very disappointed that she wasn't able to prevent that ball from going in the back of the net. But nevertheless, it was 3-0 to Canberra Croatia. And that's how the game finished. So they're top of the ladder now, Matt. Canberra Croatia on 32 points, having played one more game than Canberra Olympic, who are in second on 29 points. And while the Wanderers on this occasion, the result means that they're still second from the bottom with just 7 points. So a very good result for Canberra Croatia, and not so good result obviously for West Canberra, but nevertheless an entertaining game, when you consider that the crossbar was struck 3 times in this one. It very easily could have seen West Canberra Wanderers end this match with possibly a different result had they had that first effort go in. And, if it goes in, it's 1-1 at that stage, and you never know what can happen. So a little bit unlucky for them, but obviously Canberra Croatia struck the crossbar twice. So there was a little bit of fortune and luck on West Canberra's side in terms of that way of thinking and that way of looking at it. But the other matches which didn't get played, we've got Tuggeranong United up against Canberra United Academy will be rescheduled, and then we have Belconnen United up against ANUW which is rescheduled for Wednesday, August 9th. So quite a while away for that rescheduled match. But Matt, do you want to get into the NPLW round 15 fixtures that await us this weekend?
Yeah, and some of those fixtures include West Canberra Wanderers against Tuggeranong United, Sunday, July 23rd, 12:45 p.m. at Melrose Synthetic. Then we have Canberra Croatia against Canberra Olympic, Sunday, July 23rd, 2:30 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. I'll be commentating on that one. Then we have ANUW against Canberra United Academy, Sunday, July 23rd, 3 p.m. at ANU South Oval. And then we have Gungahlin United against Belconnen United, Sunday, July 23rd, 3 p.m. at Gungahlin Enclosed. And the interesting aspect of this one, Michael, is we have 7th v 8th, we have 5th v 6th, we have 1st v 2nd, and we have 3rd v 4th, if I'm not mistaken there. So we always say this, but it probably seems a little more crucial there, especially considering quite a few of these teams do have matches in hand. I believe only Canberra Croatia and West Canberra have played all their matches so far. So a few teams can make up some points here if they get the win. All right. Shorter NPLW segment, of course, due to those rescheduled matches, like you said, Michael. And now we are on to CPL. First, we've mentioned rescheduled matches. There's only one rescheduled match in CPL, and one of the teams that do have that match in hand also got a big win in the Riverina this weekend, Michael.
That's right, Matt. Wagga City Wanderers defeated White Eagles 3-1. It was Polongas with a hat-trick for the hosts and Kagler on the score sheet for the away team. So Wagga, they got off to a blitzing start in this one, 3 minutes in, thanks to Jake Polongas, after he scored a brace in the opening 19 minutes of the encounter via the 3rd and 19th minutes, respectively. So a great start for Wagga City Wanderers, and definitely not the start that White Eagles would have been hoping for heading into this one, especially on the road in this game. Despite the momentum with Wagga, White Eagles were not going to go down sort of into the sheds with their heads down and not playing with any sort of confidence. And they actually managed to halve the deficit 11 minutes later in the 30th minute, thanks to Kagler. So that's his first goal since returning from Tuggeranong in June. Wagga struck back, though, 3 minutes from stoppage time to ultimately dash White Eagles' hopes from getting anything out of the game by scoring their third and the final goal of the match. So the goal scorer, none other than Polongas, to complete his hat-trick, his second of the season. So his goal tally puts him up to 11 goals of the CPL campaign and third on the goal-scoring charts in the league. So he's one behind his teammate Kadzola and two behind leader Darren Bailey. So the loss for White Eagles still leaves them in 8th place, 1 point behind Canberra Juventus. They are now 7 points behind Belco and Brindis, who are tied on 5th. It's a big win for Wagga as they keep pace with Queanbeyan in 2nd, which they are 2 points behind and gain some points on Yoogali in 1st, which they are 9 points behind with a match still to play. So a great result for Wagga, Matt, like we said, but for White Eagles, their struggles, like we've mentioned quite a lot already this season. It's not been a great season for them as they pick up yet another loss. Matt, who do we have in our next contest? Another home team got a victory, and by the same scoreline as well.
Yeah, 3-1 and a big victory. Brindabella Blues breaking the undefeated streak of Yoogali, 3-1 at home. Yoogali travelled to Cornwall to take on the Brindis, and the travelling side from Griffith did get off to a flyer in this one. They opened the scoring 2 minutes in via none other than the current CPL top scorer, Darren Bailey. This is Bailey's 13th goal of the season. Very close game from all accounts in this one, with Brindis having the better of the second half as they went on an absolute tear in an 11-minute period, scoring 3 goals from the 54th minute to the 65th minute. The first goal came via Curtis Schaefer as he whipped around the keeper with the outside of the boot of his right foot into the bottom left corner from just inside the box. And the second one was quite a bit of nice build-up play from the Brindis for Schaefer in the box with one touch and then stuck it under the keeper. This brace marks 7 goals of the CPL campaign for Curtis Schaefer. Third was a header onto from Jaden Deegan Smith from just outside the 6-yard box, who then headed it over the outstretched keeper and dipped it below the bar. The Brindis showed their best by the looks of it in this encounter, and where Brindis are no stranger to showing their best football in the final third of the season. We saw this last year, Michael, where they, right near the end, had a really, really good run of form, really played really well, picked up a lot of points to put themselves in the top 4. If I'm not mistaken, they were a little further behind than they were last season, either there or thereabouts, just comparing to where they were placed. So it'll be interesting to see whether whether Brindis make that final jump into the top four. They're tied fifth at the moment. A little bit on that later. However, this loss for Yoogali marks their first loss since round 2. They still lead the ladder by 7 points on Queanbeyan and 9 on Wagga. However, both still have a match in hand. So it'll be interesting to see if that sort of opens up there. But regardless, what a run that was for Yoogali to go that long without a defeat. And not just were they undefeated that entire time, they only got one draw in that entire time. The rest were all wins. So it was one hell of a run for Yoogali there. As I mentioned before, big win for the Brindis as they became the first team to shock Yoogali since round 2. The win means that they're only 4 points off the top 4 now, so they're within touching distance. And the question, like I mentioned before, is this the win that kickstarts their surge into that top 4? And they are in tied 5th with Belco, but I think Belco have a little bit of the edge on goal difference. So a lot there, Michael, and I'm sure that'll all play out next week. Next up is a team that I mentioned just before that gained a little bit of points on Yoogali.
Yeah, that's right, Matt. They certainly did. It was Queanbeyan who got a 3-1 away victory against Canberra Juventus. It was Abbott with a hat-trick for Queanbeyan and Duck on the score sheet for Canberra Juventus. So a big match for both sides as they looked for the 3 points in this one. The first half remained a stalemate before all the goal-bound action happened in the second half in this contest. Argentine Nico Abbott opened the scoring at Ainsley 4 minutes into the second half to give his side the edge. Canberra Juventus then bounced back to level the scoring through their key man up top, Nathan Duck, 14 minutes later. This is Duck's 8th goal of the CPL campaign. The remaining goals were scored by Nico Abbott, though, as he scored in the 69th and 90th minutes, respectively, to make it 3-1. The hat-trick launched Abbott into double digits for the season with 10 goals. He's tied 4th on the goal-scoring charts with Josh De Rossi of Yoogali. The loss for Juventus means they remain 7th with 11 points, 1 point above White Eagles. They both play each other next week, so that's going to be a crucial game, Matt. Most definitely in terms of where they both are in the CPL ladder as we head into the final part of the season. They also now trail Brindis and Belco in tied 5th by 6 points. Huge win for Queanbeyan as they gain 3 points on Yoogali, so they now only trail them by 7 points with one match in hand, which is, of course, away to Wagga, which they lead by 2 points. So that makes that match even more important. So a lot to play for in CPL football at the moment. Matt, do you want to get into our last match for CPL action from the past weekend? An entertaining game, to say the least, between these two sides.
Oh, it certainly was, and some really nice goals in this one. It was a 3-2 victory to ANU over Belco. It was 4th v 5th as well going into this encounter. It was a great goal frenzy in this encounter, which took place at McKellar Park, which I believe was moved there from ANU South Ovals, but ANU were the home side. Belco opened the scoring as from a free kick, which was nicely just passed. The free kick was nicely just passed sideways instead of going for the shot or the cross there to Hayden Tunney, who was unmarked in this area, and he cracked a great low shot in the back of the net. Intelligently taken here from Belco. You don't see that too often in general from those free kicks. ANU responded strongly, though, with 2 goals in 2 minutes in the 25th and 27th minutes, respectively. The first was a cracking low free kick between the wall, curling for the bottom far corner via Andrew Manley. And the second was courtesy of a massive throw-in into the box, and an attempted clearance fell to Tim Lopez, which he hit a wonderful strike to put his side in the lead at 2-1. Belco began the second half strongly as they leveled the scores at 2-2 via Liam Ray when he received the ball out wide, made a darting run into the box, cut inside, and hit a shot for the far post. This is Ray's third goal since joining the club in June, so what a signing he has been in that mid-season transfer window. Belco came very close to taking the lead as they had a great piece of build-up play, and it ended with a shot which was brilliantly saved from ANU's Keegan Jackson with a diving save there, and he immediately sort of reacted and tried to pounce on another, but for the double save, however, it was cleared from ANU before he pounced for it. 14 minutes later, ANU struck back to give their side the lead through Max Model for his second goal of the season. Jordan Hope put in a peach of a ball from the free kick, which fell terrifically for Model as he was able to hit the header for the near post. This loss for Belco means they are now 4 points outside the top four. Lost some momentum there on ANU. They're still in 5th place as well. And as we mentioned in the Brindis one, they are now tied 5th with the Brindis, but have the edge on goal difference. Big win for ANU, though, as they return to the winning circle, as they drew 3 out of their last 4 games. And that 4th one was a loss. It wasn't in that order, though. And it also widens the gap between them and Belco, as we just mentioned, and Brindis by 4 points. They're now also 1 point off 3rd place, Wagga, and 3 points off 2nd place, Queanbeyan, who, of course, as we've mentioned previously, both have a match in hand. So a lot going on in that one. Great goals, great build-up play. Really, really nice stuff there from both sides. And that action, of course, continues into this weekend, Michael, with round 15. What are our fixtures for that kicks off the final third of the season, which will prove to be dramatic all the way through, I don't doubt?
Oh, it certainly will be dramatic, Matt. We've got Belconnen United up against Wagga City Wanderers Saturday, July 22nd, 3 p.m. at McCullough Park. Brindabella Blues take on Queanbeyan City. That's going to be a cracker. Saturday, July 22nd, 3 p.m. at Ipen Park in Corwell. We then have Canberra Juventus up against Canberra White Eagles, which we mentioned earlier. Saturday, July 22nd, 3 p.m. at Ainsley Field 2. And lastly, we have Yoogali up against ANU. Another brilliant match. Saturday, July 22nd, 3:20 p.m. at Solomad Stadium. So some great games to look forward to, Matt, across all the competitions. And I'm very keen to break it down with you yet again next week on another episode on the show.
It certainly will be another great weekend of action. And of course, the Women's World Cup kicks off this week. I believe Thursday night are the first matches in that. It's great to see the Women's World Cup here in Australia. And best of luck as well, as we mentioned at the top of the program, to Russ and Stefan. Go check out their respective works on the FIFA Plus app for Russ and on Beyond 90 for Stefan. As always, everybody, enjoy the weekend and most importantly, enjoy the football.